So that's what draws people here. The nature, the creativity, the gorgeous architecture. The word is spreading about our amazing food and nourishment. But when they get here, they have really the same reaction that you all have had of, I can finally let my shoulders down. I actually can relax my jaw. I can breathe.
Hello, and welcome to the Art of Living Well podcast. I'm Stephanie May Potter, and I'm here with my co-host, Marnie Marmette.
We created the Art of Living Well podcast to empower you to live your happiest, healthiest, and most authentic life. Each week, we will bring you inspiring and motivating conversations covering health and wellness topics, including fitness, mindset, food, travel, product reviews, and strategies from a variety of experts, including our own bank of knowledge.
We are excited to educate, motivate, and inspire you to change the way you perceive health and discover your art of living well. Get ready to feel inspired. Hello, and welcome to episode 107 of the Art of Living Well podcast. Happy New Year! How are you guys doing? We hope that your January is off to a great start. I know for me personally, January is the longest month of the year because it's just so darn cold in Minnesota. And of course, the days are shorter, making it more challenging to spend time outside every day. But Marnie and I are both committed to doing just that, to getting outside, bundling up, even when it's cold, for just a quick walk. And honestly, once you bundle up, and even I like to use hand warmers, which for those of you listening in warmer parts of the world, you may not even know what that is. But once you start moving, you'll often find that you can stay outside longer than you thought, especially when the sun is out. That really makes a huge difference. So just a little encouragement to get outside every day, even if it's cold. We can definitely relate to the challenges that this time of year brings. And I just wanted to also mention that as we drop this episode, we're in our first week of our 14-day liver detox program. We've expanded our typical quarterly liver detox additional week to help people reset and really establish those healthy habits that we know you want to create. And it's just a little easier to do it with an extended program with additional support and lots of fun and new offerings. So if you haven't participated in one of our detoxes and you're interested, message us, send us an email, get on our email list so that you get first access to when we open up those programs, as our next one will kick off sometime in April. And before we dive into today's episode, we just want to ask that if you're enjoying this podcast, if you could take just 2 minutes to leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcast, or share this episode with a friend or family or anyone who you think may enjoy today's conversation. We are truly just excited and honored to share today's guest, Heidi Zimmer, who is the founder of Wild Rice Retreat, Midwest's only wellness retreat center. So as a little background, Heidi is a real estate developer, a professional, creative entrepreneur with over 25 years of experience leading thoughtful development in the areas of affordable housing, community development, economic development, and urban and rural planning. She has developed over $500 million in creative and arts-related development projects throughout the United States. As the founder and owner of Wild Rice Retreat, Heidi has developed a $10 million first-of-its-kind arts and wellness retreat center in the Midwest. Marnie and I were fortunate enough to experience this brand new retreat center and have this wonderful conversation with Heidi in person, and you can really feel the energy from being together throughout this episode. I should also mention that Heidi is a 200-hour registered yoga teacher, and we were fortunate enough to experience one of her lovely classes while we were on site. So Wild Rice is a vibrant, creative, and beautiful destination in the upper Midwest. It's a year-round respite that nurtures individual creativity and human development. It's located on the shores of Lake Superior, just outside the beautiful Bayfield, Wisconsin area, and this space creates an opportunity to ground the mind, body, and spirit through integrative, artistic, and holistic life experiences. Wild Rice Retreat's focus is on artistic excellence in teaching and thoughtful and supportive programming to stimulate individual growth. We had such a wonderful conversation with Heidi, and you can honestly feel the energy and magic that she's created come through in this conversation. She shares her journey to create this beautiful space, and you'll learn about the wonderful offerings that they provide to all their guests to allow them to truly rest, something that I think everyone could use more of these days. You'll hear about experiences from their guests and just the intentional offerings that they have to allow people to ground themselves in nature, tap into their creativity, and truly listen to their body. Heidi opens up and shares how she's built resilience through building Wild Rice Retreat during a pandemic, no less, and how she stayed grounded throughout the process and really trusted her intuition. You'll also gain Heidi's powerful insight, as this episode is packed with so many life lessons, inspiration, and motivation as you continue on your journey to living well. She has a special offer for all of our listeners to get 15% off using code LIVINGWELL for a personal retreat. And they also have a scholarship fund, which you can check out in our show notes for more details. And with that, let's jump right into our wonderful conversation with Heidi Zimmer, founder of Wild Rice Retreat.
But first, a quick word from our sponsor, Thrive Chiropractic. I was first introduced to Thrive Chiropractic over 5 years ago for kinesiology-based food sensitivity testing. I was so amazed by this non-invasive and inexpensive technique that I took my son to have testing done, which confirmed some of his food sensitivities. Both my son and I now have regular tune-ups, and even my leery husband has felt the immense benefits from receiving chiropractic care, including cupping.
With over 25 years of clinical experience, the doctors at Thrive Chiropractic, located in Minnetonka, Minnesota, combine their passion for wellness with a strong expertise in effective treatment approaches. When you first come to Thrive Chiropractic, the doctors are focused on helping you feel better as soon as possible, and they recognize that one type of treatment or technique does not work for everyone. Your comprehensive exam, personal goals, and individual concerns help the doctors tailor your custom treatment plan for maximum results. Thrive Chiropractic's integrative approach offers holistic and effective healthcare with a full spectrum of complementary products and services, including acupuncture, massage, food sensitivity testing, CBD, and premium supplements.
As a special offer, Thrive Chiropractic would like to invite listeners of our podcast to experience the gift of health with a $25 new patient visit, which includes the initial consultation, a comprehensive exam, any necessary x-rays, and first adjustments. Simply visit the website at www.thrivechiromn.com or call 952-746-5612 and reference the Art of Living Well podcast. When you're seeking effective, non-invasive treatment approaches to support your health goals, let Thrive Chiropractic be your partner in wellness. Call or book online today.
Hi, Heidi. We are so excited to be here today with you. Marnie and I have had the wonderful opportunity of spending the last day and a half here at Wild Rice Retreat in Bayfield, Wisconsin, and we're experiencing all the beautiful fall colors, looking out at Lake Superior right now, and we can't thank you enough for allowing us this opportunity. It's been magical.
I'm glad to hear that. Thank you for being here.
Yes, and we're so excited that we were connected through a mutual friend who spent time here. And, Marnie and I have actually been wanting to take a retreat, and this just fell into our laps at the perfect time. And we experienced your wonderful yoga class today, and we're going to get more into all of that. So just thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Oh, you're very welcome. I'm so glad you could be here, and the sun is shining on us, and the weather is perfect.
Absolutely. So everyone has a story, and we would love to hear your journey, including your career in the arts and your personal practice in yoga and wellness, which ultimately led you and your husband to create Wild Rice Retreat, which is a space for grounding the mind, body, and spirit through integrative artistic and holistic life experiences.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. So you want me to just jump right into how this
Jump
all...
right in.
Jump right in, how this all came to be. Well, I've always been very sensitive. Even as a child, I was always very aware and sensitive to my environment, and without having the words for it as a child, I knew when I was in certain places on a beach or a city that my energy felt different in certain kind of places. So I was always really aware of my surroundings and my environment, and that led into really following a career path and a calling, originally in the affordable housing world, in the community and economic development world. I cared a lot and always have about community building and community engagement and how one connects in with their neighbors, and their whole life is embedded in where their home, where their neighborhood is, and what is happening in their community. So in the beginning of my career, I was very focused on affordable housing and helping lift people out of poverty. I went to, as a young adult in college, the south side of Chicago, and just couldn't believe the living conditions. And then we wonder why people don't thrive when they're in horrible living conditions. And so that really fueled me to get into a career that was focused on urban planning and development, affordable housing, and then that led me to a wonderful company in Minneapolis called Art Space. And I won't, share my whole resume here, but I spent, in my 25 years of developing real estate, I spent about half of it working for an amazing nonprofit called Art Space, and they're headquartered in Minneapolis. People probably know them through the Kohl's Center for Dance, that big Schubert theater that was moved on rubber tires down Hennepin Avenue many years ago, and a lot of the artist loft spaces, both in the lower town neighborhood of St. Paul, and Art Space develops all over the United States. And so I was blessed with being able to both create affordable and wonderful and healthy living communities, but also focused around the arts all over the country, and met people from all walks of life, every kind of community, big and small, urban and rural. And I kind of fell in love with the rural setting. And so I was invited up here to Bayfield, I think it was back in 2012, with my Art Space hat on. And I just really fell in love with the land and the area. I grew up in Michigan, so I'm a Great Lakes girl by nature. I'm always looking for water. In the Midwest, you're like always on that search. Yeah. And I lived near Lake Harriet in South Minneapolis. If I'm like, anything you can walk around, it's not big enough body of water for me. I gotta find the great big lake. So we came up here to Bayfield, and I was just blown away by the energy here. I just felt so connected to it, and something just really palpable just caught my attention. And it was through that Art Space lens that I originally looked at this land here where Wild Rice Retreat now sits. At the time, it was Wild Rice Restaurant. Developed by Mary Rice, who's the namesake of the project. She was an incredible woman, a mentor of mine, super entrepreneurial, creative, a culinary queen. They called her the Queen of Bayfield. She was just eccentric, delightful, and generous in every way. And her spirit is definitely still here in some of the whimsical things you see around the property. But there's 100 acres of land around this property, and the idea really started to formulate for me from all of my travels and sprinkles of my Art Space work. I was able to go to Taos, New Mexico, and Santa Fe, and Sedona, and all these wonderful places with strong energy healing, strong commitment to wellness, and then a strong commitment to the arts. And this idea started to formulate, well, couldn't you have a place that really married all of those together in one experience? And that really is where the seeds of the idea of Wild Rice Retreat were born. We'll speed forward in the story, I ended up being so passionate about the idea here that I left Art Space in 2020, right before the pandemic hit. They're still all family to me and dear, dear colleagues. I totally support their work, but they gave me the blessing to go follow my dream. And it was really a dream of mine to build a kind of place where you integrate awesome nourishment and incredible food in nature, explore creativity through all kinds of artistic expression, and then have a nice commitment to movement and wellness and well-being. So all of those kind of spun together and lay the foundation for the pillars of everything we're doing here. And of course, having a strong real estate background certainly came in handy. We had to build 22 buildings during the pandemic, which was no easy feat and full of challenge. And one of the biggest lessons of this project and inspirations to me is how many people got behind it, supported it, stuck with it. It really took the whole village and then some to get where we are today, and I'm just deeply grateful for it.
Well, first of all, congratulations.
Yes.
Like, wow. I love your story. I love that, you were working in poverty-stricken areas, and then you kind of sounds like you traveled all over and you started to see these different communities and take everything you kind of learned and put it into your passion and wild rice. And Stephanie and I were talking about yesterday, there's so much around the property. There's little sculptures and you can feel the energy here. You can feel it. I think you mentioned that even this morning. It's a magical property. So you accomplished already what your dream was, or what you were talking about.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. You noticed probably, we're sitting on that 70 feet of brownstone here. Mm-hmm. So the rock here all along Lake Superior in this section of the shoreline, it's a little bit that way in the UP over by Pictured Rocks as well. And you think of the rocks of Sedona, that are above the ground, and hiking, and even the pyramids and that kind of energy. And I feel like it's equally as powerful. It's just underneath us instead of above us. And so you fold that into a gorgeous, dense forest and just the awesome power of Lake Superior, and you have a pretty spectacular and magical place.
And thank you for doing this so close to the Twin Cities.
Yes.
I know. You don't even have to get on a plane.
Yes.
And just jump in your car and drive here.
Yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit more about the environment and, how the environment here and how it helps you ground in your mind and your body and spirit, and maybe a little bit about, some of the things around the property?
Sure. Well, we had an awesome design and development team. David Salmela Architects is the designer, really well known for his Scandinavian modern style, simple structures, tons of simplicity in the design here, and yet the beauty and elegance and really peacefulness comes out of that very purposeful, simple design. As I mentioned, the earth energy is strong here. In fact, so strong it makes it difficult to build anything on it, because you put your shovel in the ground and you get about 1 inch, and that's about as far as you're going to go. So we were able to just use all the materials on the site and shift soil around from one location to the next. The beautiful boulder garden you see out the front door is actually rock that we had to dynamite out of the ground. Wow. I remember thinking, I'm using sticks of dynamite to create a yoga retreat center.
That's wild.
And just the juxtaposition of all of that was pretty wild to wrap our head around, and yet the land is very spiritual here. Of course, we're deep in Ojibwe land here. Mm-hmm. Wild rice in the city and town of Bayfield sit in between the Bad River Indian Reservation and the Red Cliff Indian Reservation. And I walked this property many times with the medicine man, just making sure that whatever we did here was done with intention and sacredness and a respect for the land and the ancestry of this place. And his words always resonate with me. As I walk the land, even today, I still think about what he has said to me. He said strongly that this land is already blessed. And so when he came here, what he wanted to bless was the intention of what we were creating to pass on to future generations. That the spirit of the ancestors and the spirit of healing and wellness is imbued in everything here. And so he was wishing for us that intention to carry that spirit forward for anyone that comes here. And so that was a super important foundation for how everything is designed. And then the buildings themselves, natural light, you notice looking out these windows right here in our conversation, light is everything, especially in the Midwest, right? And especially this far north. Light is everything. It affects your energy. So making sure that the buildings were oriented to have maximum amount of natural light. And our windows are just really incredible and almost work like a mural or artwork in and of themselves. And then the structures, our little rice pod, our lodging units, were really designed to be containers in nature. And the intention behind them and behind their names, we're in the peace pod right now. And then the lodging is the rice pod, the nest, and the tree house. And those are all names for containers in nature. So when you're here, we want you to feel like you're a seed protected in that contained space and almost cocooned and supported in nature while you're here. And I think that intention carries through even the smallest details in the lodging and throughout the property.
And I would say it really does. Like the first day when I came into the treehouse and that giant window, with all that light coming in, I was like, this is amazing. Like you feel like you're in nature. And there's so many places, we all travel, and like, especially in like a hotel, you're in this little room, maybe you have a balcony, maybe you don't, but it's usually dark. And
right.
I really love the spaces you've created. They're stunning.
Oh, thank you. It was an awesome team.
Yes.
Awesome team effort.
So you've created this environment for, like we said, grounding the mind, body, and spirit. Can you tell our listeners just a variety of the experiences that they would have here, maybe some of the offerings, and also even touch on kind of what people take away too from being here? I mean, because the energy is amazing. And like you said, being in nature and being so close to the water, in addition to having it be this spiritual environment, is really just quite amazing. And you just don't find that very, very many places,
Yeah, you don't find it very many places. And that was one of my biggest passions and callings to do this. When I first started talking to people about the concept of a retreat center as opposed to a resort, people would say, well, those kind of places are only in California. That can't work in the Midwest. And I'm like, well, why can't it work in the Midwest?
We need one. Yeah.
We desperately need this. With our long winters and short days, we need this more than the Californians, actually.
Absolutely.
So why isn't this here? And so the huge intention behind that, and making sure, there's wonderful resorts all over northern Minnesota and northern Wisconsin. They're wonderful places, but this is intentionally quite different. We want you to have a really immersive experience when you come here. So I can talk a little bit about the types of experiences. There's really three different ways to visit with us. And the first is what you all are doing, which is coming on a personal retreat. And you can still come with a friend, come with your spouse, come with whoever, but you are just kind of crafting your own stay and visit here. And everyone that visits here has 2 meals, 2 wonderful, nourishing meals included a day from our Novo team, and it's all local farmers, locally sourced, healthy, fresh, just amazing food. And then you also get access to the daily immersion classes. And so we try to center those around our 3 pillars of nourishment, expression, and movement. So in movement, you may, one day it may be a guided moving meditation class or a forest bathing walk. There's yoga definitely almost every day, but you don't have to do the yoga classes. I get asked a lot, well, do I have to do yoga if I come? No, you don't have to. You definitely don't have to. It's all of these are just options available, and people can partake or not partake in as much or as little as they want. We try to have artistic expression classes as well, like mandala making and learning about essential oils and learning how to do a daily practice with journaling and writing. And we're new, so all of that kind of programming is growing, but you can count on at least 2 or 3 classes a day that are available to you when you're here on your own. You can also come and sign up for a guided retreat, and just as our mutual teacher, Tanya Boygan's on, and one of your guests recently was just here. You know, Tanya was one of our many guided retreats this summer and this fall, and it's usually a 3 or a 5 day workshop, and you're coming to work with that instructor and learning a certain curriculum or skill or just sharpening a skill. It's all skill levels welcome here. We have photography and writing and fabric dyeing and plein air painting and
foraging, right?
Foraging. This week we had woodland botanical foraging,
that was
and
so
it was
cool.
incredible what she found right on this property, and turned it into headdresses and pieces of jewelry and incredible art. So the creativity here, the options are really endless. And then you can also come here with a group and work on if you're working towards a goal or leadership training or any kind of group experience, small weddings, all of those kinds of things. We do find though that people usually come here with a big agenda for themselves and then look out those windows and relax into those comfy beds and they rest. And for me this year, that's been the biggest takeaway, is just the joy and gift of this place and allowing people to rest.
Which is what most of us need more of. You know, leave the to-do list at home, right?
Right.
And I'm one that always has an agenda too.
Well, and I had an agenda coming here. Like, I was like, I want to go to Madeline Island, and I want a kayak tour, and I want to do this and that. And I got here, and someone at the desk was like, yeah, it's really pretty just around here. Like, if you hike around, you don't need to go away. So I was like, oh, and then I was like, I'm going to work on my book and do all this stuff. And then I looked out the windows. She arrived. I'm like, yeah, we should maybe not do all that stuff we talked about.
And it was so lovely. We did this wonderful hike around here, and we went into Bayfield, and then the afternoon we did
the sea
We
cave.
went to the sea
Sea
cave
cave.
tour, which is beautiful.
And I didn't feel like I was in Wisconsin. I didn't feel like I was in anywhere in the Midwest. You know, you're looking down at the
beach.
waves and the beach and the movement of Lake Superior, and the fall colors were just incredible.
Yeah, and the water's almost emerald green over
Yes.
there.
It looked like
Beautiful.
another
Minerals.
country. Like,
It
it
did.
could almost be Mexico or the
Caribbean
Caribbean.
water.
I mean, it was truly like, I was like, wow, I'm in Wisconsin
And this is
right
right in
now.
our back door.
It's right in your back door.
It's
It's a very
crazy.
exotic place. So, you know, we usually reserve the term exotic, right? We all think, you know, we good Midwesterners always think it's got to be better somewhere else, right? And then it's like, no, this beauty and magic is right here in our own backyard. And it has been, I mean, there haven't been a ton of blessings from the pandemic, but one of them, at least for me, has been a really growing awareness of how beautiful this area is. The 22 Apostle Islands are part of the national park system, and the sailing and kayaking here and hiking is just, it's almost otherworldly beautiful. You don't have to jump on an airplane and go halfway around the world. It's right here.
Which I
Exactly.
love.
Yes.
So can you tell us, or maybe share some examples or an example of what's drawing your guests to the retreat center, and how are their experiences, transforming them? Or do you see them, I don't want to say leaving as a different person, but leaving with like maybe a renewed sense of something?
Yes. We've been open since May, and most of the guests come here just as you did.
Past May?
Yeah, May. Yeah,
wow,
yeah. We've only been open 6 months.
I did not realize that.
Yep.
Wow.
May of 2021. Our grand opening was July of this year. We truly did build this project during the pandemic.
Yeah.
So we started construction March of 2020, and just finished this summer. So we truly are new, and it is arriving at just the right time. So that new Brandy Carlisle song, Right on Time, just really resonates with me about this place. If you haven't heard that song, take a listen. It's like the world wanted this project to be here, because people arrive to us, just as you did, that I'm going to work on my book, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do, which is great. And even if they're coming here for a guided retreat and I'm going to hone my photography skills, or I'm going to work on whatever they're working on, what's been fun. And so that's what draws people here: the nature, the creativity, the gorgeous architecture. The word is spreading about our amazing food and nourishment. But when they get here, they have really the same reaction that you all have had of, I can finally let my shoulders down. I actually can relax my jaw. I can breathe. We had a gentleman come here with a lot of trauma, and he was here for 12 days, and he thought he was going to write a book while he was here. And instead, he really just sunk in and connected to our programming, connected to our team, connected with nature, took his first yoga and meditation class in his whole life, came to our sound healing, and realized that his purpose here wasn't to write his book. It was to recover, or start to recover from some long stored trauma that he had carried with him. And so for me to hear those stories and to, like you said, not necessarily transformation. I don't want people to think they must come here, a caterpillar and leave a butterfly.
Yeah, right.
That's too much pressure.
Yeah,
it's too much pressure. Just, breathe, be open to the space, be curious, have an open mind, and just sink in and really tune in and listen to your body, tapping into energetically, what is your body telling you it needs? Get out of your head space. That's the greatest gift to this place.
Absolutely. I could not agree more. And I think, we said don't set an agenda and don't expect to have this transformation, but that to me is a transformation. Even though it's so subtle, you're not going to leave and go conquer the world necessarily after, but you're gonna, ground in nature, right? Which is so important. We did that in the yoga class this morning, really focusing on that energetic system and tap into your creativity. And that,
that alone
I believe that
is
is transforming,
It totally is.
Yep.
Yeah.
And listening to your body. You can't give yourself a better gift than that, and loving yourself, right?
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, and even just staring out the window, I'm looking at the lake, it's so calm, and the trees, and it's how can you not just let go?
Yes.
Right?
And people always, I feel some people say this retreat center, oh, that's a luxury time, luxury of time and also money to get away. But like we said, it just prioritizing that time away from our busy lives is really one of the greatest gifts you can that you can give to yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. We think of all the money we spend on all the other things, and taking time to really just sink in and be quiet enough and still enough to listen to your body is really a great gift. And I talked about it a little bit in the yoga class this morning, but one of the great benefits I also see, and you saw it with the women talking to each other after class, and we have all ranges, all abilities. Everybody who comes here ends up almost making friends and going on hikes. They come as strangers and they leave as friends. And one of the things that has really spoken to me is that deep sense of belonging. We're all looking for belonging, right? It's that whole just kind of the root of our souls of needing love and connection and belonging. And I hope that people, when they come here, they feel they belong to this place, they belong to the earth again, they reconnect to their soul and their spirit. And to me, that's really the deepest sense of creating well-being and wellness. There's all the huge wellness industry and that giant umbrella of a word, and a loaded word in a lot of ways. And so we try hard, and it's certainly my intention, to just really break things down to the most simplest of forms of all. Just strip it all away.
Absolutely. We don't need half of that, what we consider to be wellness.
Yeah. I love getting a facial.
Yeah, of course.
I love getting a massage. So I'm not poo-pooing that whole self-care world and all of that. But at the end of the day, and especially in this pandemic time and this time of trauma, and I really, for people in the Twin Cities and Minneapolis in particular, let's face it, with all of the horrible things that have happened in our city, racial trauma, people are coming here with every kind of trauma and loss and grief you can imagine. But I'm not saying that in a super heavy way, because people also come here with a lot of joy and open hearts and wonder and curiosity and light too. So it's been an interesting balance to just hold space here for people and meet them truly wherever they are.
I love that. So just rewinding a minute, do you have plans to add a massage and facial? And I know that's not the intention of the space, but I could picture myself out by the lake having a lovely outdoor massage.
Yes, wouldn't that be awesome?
Yeah,
I know. I want a fun outdoor bathtub, hot tub thing in the woods too.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
Yes. And so we're brand
brand new.
Started out small,
down
brand
the road.
new,
I'm
first
talking down the road.
Yes, I would love for people to be able to eventually be able to have massage and some treatment right here. We're hoping to add a labyrinth, and a lot more nature trail connections throughout the property. And some additional amenities. There will even be there's going to be another phase to this project that'll have a for sale component, so you could actually buy a nest and have it for yourself, and then put it back into the rental or lodging pool, and we'll manage it for you eventually. So but really it's starting in small steps. We wanted to get really those basic pillars down of providing people with that experience and that ability to really nourish their mind, body, and soul, and then we'll spread out from there with more amenities, more kinds of classes, different kinds of workshops and platforms. We'd love to bring in more speakers, and just have a lot of different kind of programming as well. So yes.
That's amazing.
Yes, well,
love that
we look
vision.
forward to that. But even as it currently stands, you are you're giving people and all the guests all the pillars that you're talking about. There's plenty of that already right now, and just having opened a few months ago. So
great.
Yeah. So you talked a little bit about food in Novo, which is your restaurant, right?
Yes.
Area, and how important it is to provide the nourishing food. So, and we loved, we had a questionnaire when we signed up, and it asked about dietary restrictions and preferences and things like that, which is really so important, because a lot of times you just don't get that when you go even on other retreats or to other resorts. So can you maybe just even expand on that a little bit, why it's so important to provide that nourishment and the type of, food that people can expect? when they come here.
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, our nourishment is a lot like our lodging and a lot like the other things. It's very simple, but it's super tasty. And, you know, we keep that kind of Ayurvedic mindset with it, with the seasonality to it. We try to grow as we just opened our, you know, container beds this summer, but there's a huge bounty of root vegetables and bringing as much to life locally as we possibly can. We work with our local farms for everything from our proteins to our greens, our dairies, our cheeses. Everything is really making sure that we're being as sustainable as possible. And you can really taste that in the food. We don't over season things. We don't overcomplicate things. We really want really the plant-based diet and the locally sourced and sustainable products to come forward. And I've had so many people comment because our food is served family style or buffet style, and people come up there and, you know, they're used to seeing the breakfast buffet with the big, you know, the giant thing of sausage and bacon and eggs, and they're like, oh my gosh, I don't see a ton here. I'm gonna starve to death is like their immediate reaction. But then they get in and it's like, oh, actually, yeah, that was like super nourishing, super filling, but yet super simple. And we won't let anybody starve to death.
Yes.
But we may introduce a grain or two or a vegetable or two that you may not have tried before. And of course, always being super sensitive to diet and restrictions. We hope to expand to a dinner menu soon,
nice.
Like the whole hospitality industry. You know, it's a real strain right now, and we work hard to pay really awesome living wages and great benefits. We want, you know, people talk about sustainability so much in the environment and design, but we also have to talk about it for the labor industry and the hospitality and the service industry, and that is super, super important to us as well. So as much as I would love to say, you know, you can get a meal any time of the day, 24/7, room service, all of that, we simply, you know, can't staff that right now, and may not choose to ever because of what it does to people's own health and well-being. So making sure we take care of our staff is really important as well. You all were able to enjoy Bree's class yesterday on the spirit-free cocktail movement as well. And that's also a really important and hopefully not too unique anymore, growing trend, and something we really embrace. Is, you know, everybody loves our wonderful wine selection, but to have that beautiful, thoughtful, and intentional spirit-free cocktail line as well is really important to us. And just teaching people about, you know, making tonics and potions and tinctures and bitters and all that from our own land here, from the blues, you know, from the spruce tips to our blackberries and everything else on the site. They're making syrups and dressings and just all kinds of wonderful. Their creativity just knows no bounds in the kitchen.
And you're really opening up the possibility of creating right from the land. And so I'm sure all of your guests get to experience that too, and it will just help them open up their thinking and their, you know, embrace their inner creative genes, even those that don't think of, you know, they have that are creative. So.
And I'll just say I really appreciated that you know, there was the gluten-free, dairy-free options, because like Stephanie mentioned, oftentimes I'll travel and it's like, oh, what am I going to eat? And I'm not like a huge granola person, but the granola was delicious. And the pumpkin muffins.
Oh, those pumpkin muffins. I mean, I'm going to be bringing one home with me, just so you know.
Oh, good. I'm glad
They're
to
so
hear
delicious.
Delicious.
So,
and the squash, it was a butternut squash or a squash
mac and cheese.
Mac and cheese that was gluten and dairy free.
Oh, wow.
It was so yummy with
one.
turmeric, and it was really good. I'm going to try to recreate that at home for my kids.
Yeah.
But I
so
won't.
I see cooking classes here and
absolutely.
Gardens where people are coming and they're harvesting and then maybe learning to cook something. Like there's so much you could do.
Yes. Yeah. And we have a great teaching team there that we did do some how to do container garden and grow your own garden because
wonderful.
These are just incredible. Mine don't look like that at all. So
No.
I need to take that class 3 or 4 times and learn about the importance of the soil. It all goes back to
back to Mother Earth and the soil.
So I'm curious, or we're curious about, what your life lessons have taught you about like building resilience and what you've learned through building this retreat center and how you've been able to stay true to your mission and your, your mission based, even through a pandemic.
Even through a pandemic. The resilience has been tested.
I can only imagine.
People say to me a lot, like, you're so ambitious. You took such a big risk. How is, it's so bold of you. And I appreciate that. And I will wear that as a badge. But some of it is just luck. Some of it is deep, deep faith. But a lot of it came from just, again, having that strong root system, that strong soil system for myself, and just staying super grounded. And, anytime you start a new business, everybody's got an opinion, right? You should do this. You should do this. Did you think about that? Did you think about that? And I appreciate that. People always, want to share from they're trying to help. And I would just take all of those messages in, and then, my yoga practice really, frankly, is what grounded me the most and helped me quiet my own mind, find my own grounding. And when all of those messages are coming at you at 1,000,000 miles an hour, really listening deeply to your intuition, your gut. Of course, it helped to have the skill set of 25 years of real estate development and millions of dollars worth of projects. I couldn't have done this project 20 years ago. I think I would have easily been pulled off of my center and probably a little bit, listened to maybe the wrong advice. For me, it was important to have that experience. As much as it is hard for me to be launching into my very first business at age 50, I also think it was all those years of experience that just are definitely benefiting me and helping me just get over every challenge that came our way, including a pandemic, including tripling cost of lumber on a project that was 90% lumber.
Wow. Right.
And bringing people along and getting everybody to buy into the same mission and the same vision, down to your banker, your accountant, your legal team. You need all those people on the same team with you. And we had an incredible team here working with us on construction. So many wonderful local labor and local talent. Annalisa Bermel, who was my design partner and creative director and helping me with construction, she believed in everything we were doing too. And we just kept, we really just kept going. And I always come back to, does this serve Wild Rice Retreat? Does this serve nurturing the mind, body, and spirit? Does it serve the honor and legacy of Mary Rice? Is it going to serve this community well? Is what we're doing going to be good for Bayfield and good for the region and help that rising tide lift all of the boats here? And so I just, you come back to those 5 or 6 questions and you just stay really solid and grounded and listening to the answer and making sure it's there.
That's just beautiful. And I think that's just good. That's such great
business
insight
advice.
And business advice.
Really.
And just in life, like what are your, grounding to what your intentions are for your life. You don't have to be a business owner, right? For your family, for whatever you want, and just keep asking yourself those questions, and your priorities, and they're going to shift and change over time. But that's just wonderful, inspiration. I guess.
Thank
So,
you.
yeah.
Thank you.
And what a wonderful thing you're bringing to Bayfield also, because I
Yes.
can only imagine how much the community appreciates this space, and it brings so many new people to the area, which I have to think, filters into the whole community.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. The downtown business owners are definitely welcoming and
Yes.
appreciating all of the new guests that are here. It truly is a destination tourism project. It's one of the biggest economic development projects in this region in many years. But this region is growing pretty rapidly. It's great to see so many young families coming in, and the new businesses that are opening. What I've really been pleased to see a lot of people really committed to the quality of life here, and then quality of this environment. We're on the biggest freshwater lake in the world, and we have to protect it. So from a pure real estate development perspective, first do no harm, right?
Right.
So and so the leaders here and the business owners, we had, it's hard to come into a small community and do something new, but we really took our time, and that's where I go back to the beginning of this conversation. And I know how important it is. I've seen it in every community I've worked in across the country, about building trust, building relationships, and listening. You have 2 ears, 1 mouth. Use them appropriately.
I just learned that from someone, and I was like, yep.
Yep. Really listen and don't rush, and take the time. We took our time, and a lot of people just want to rush right into construction. I want to get this done. I want to get it open, and you miss a lot. And it helps to just spend that time building trust and relationships. We had unanimous support for this project, and it's a 114-acre project, so which is almost unheard of. And I hope that we can be an example for a way to do thoughtful development along these shorelines and still very much protect the environment.
Absolutely. Wow.
I love that.
That's amazing. Yes. Yeah. So Heidi, we love leaving our listeners with just some simple tips or strategies that they can implement, immediately into their life. And you've already shared so much, has been peppered throughout this conversation. But what would be your top, 1 or 2 tips that someone could implement into their life, just to kind of create this, it's really this Zen-like environment here, but in their own home or their own community, even without coming here. And of course, we highly encourage everyone to come visit too.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
But I get it. Not everyone can, but to create a sanctuary in your own home is, my number one piece of advice. What I've said to people here that come to the classes a couple of times, it's like, take that yoga mat and roll it out and leave it out. And then take your favorite books and your favorite blanket and your favorite candle. And you don't necessarily have to build an altar space, so to speak. I mean, you can if you want. You can get as wild with all the crystals and those kinds of things. But sometimes just having your favorite book, your yoga mat, and a blanket or a pillow or something that is always there. Because I always say, I said it this morning, yoga is just breathing, really. I mean, it's breathing with movement. And so there have been many times where I had this intention of, I'm gonna go to my mat and do a practice, and I lie down on my mat and not so much, but I'm still doing yoga because I'm quieting my mind. I'm finding that quiet corner of my house that's like my sacred space, and I'm just connecting back into my body and my breath. And I think that's the most nourishing thing any of us can do for ourselves, is to get quiet and get still, more often than we do.
Right. It's hard for a lot of people to do that.
That's wonderful advice. Yeah.
Great.
Love that.
So where can people find you, learn more about the Wild Rice Retreat Center? I know you have some special offers.
Yes, we're going to have an offer, and I'm sure you'll have it in your notes. It's a Living Well coupon code for anyone to have 15% off a personal retreat. I also want to mention for your listeners, if there's financial hardship, we have a scholarship fund, the Mary H. Rice Possibilities Action Fund, and I will send you the link to that as well. And we do provide scholarships on a need basis for those who want to come here. We want everyone to be able to come here and experience this space. But you can find most of our information on all of our retreats and our experiences and our programming and rates at our website, which is wildriceretreat.com. That's also our Facebook and Instagram handle. We have a very active Instagram story feed, and that's where you find most of the examples of all of the great things happening here on a daily basis. And then you can also follow me personally. My handle is heidi.kz on Instagram, and that's where I also add in a lot of information about my own classes and offerings.
Great.
Awesome.
And we'll link all that up in the show notes too.
Great.
Yes. So, Heidi, this has been just wonderful having this conversation today and experiencing Wild Rice Retreat. But one final question that we love to ask all of our guests is, what does the art of living well mean to you?
That's a great question. It's something we should all be asking ourselves. The art of living well means to me really embracing all that I'm trying to reflect back here and spread for our visitors. It means nourishing myself with wonderful, healthy food. It means inviting creativity into my day and my daily practice. I'm not an artist, by the way, but just trying
Everyone's
to be.
an artist.
We're
Yes.
all artists.
Yes.
Yeah, right? We're all artists. And then of course movement. So for me, the art of living well always involves mindful breathing, movement, yoga practice, walking in the woods, just some kind of movement every day. If I can get those three things in, it's a great art of living well day.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love it.
I think we
couldn't-
both.
we
yes.
both, I mean,
you nailed it.
you nailed it for us too, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really resonates with us, and that's what you've created, and you can do all three of those things here. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Thank you so much. This has been such a pleasure.
Thank
and
you.
I think we both feel so honored to be here sitting in the Peace Pod. Did I
Yes,
get
the
that
Peace
right?
Pod.
Yeah,
Yes.
Peace Pod.
Yes.
And it feels like a Peace Pod. Like I can't stop looking out at the lake. I'm just like mesmerized by it.
Yes.
So, thank you so much.
Thank
Well,
you.
thank
We can't wait
you.
to come back. So
Yes.
we will be
Come
back
back
for
Hopefully
sure.
we'll be leading a retreat.
Yes,
Oh, I would
exactly.
love
I'm
that.
saying that out loud.
We can manifest it right now.
Manifest it right on this podcast. You'll come back to lead a retreat. There you go.
Absolutely. Yes. All right. Well, thank you, Heidi.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful day.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for listening to the Art of Living Well podcast. We are so grateful that you joined us today.
If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend or anyone else you think may benefit from this information. We'd love for you to subscribe to our podcast, leave us a review, and tag the Art of Living Well podcast on social media.
If you want more inspiration in between episodes, you can find us on social media at theartofliving_well on Instagram and Facebook, where we will share snippets from our daily lives and our journey to living well.